I just tried to record this video using a teleprompter in a very backwards way and it did not go well, so I'm going to attempt to do this again. If you've clicked this video, you are probably interested in one of the following. 1. You're either already a follower of this channel and you're just interested in seeing what I'm up to, maybe. 2. You're interested in learning about ADHD. Or 3. You might think you might have ADHD as an adult and wondering where to even start. Or perhaps, you know what, it's none of them. None of those reasons that I just mentioned above. Let's just say you're a person who is having trouble remembering tasks, or staying focused, or finding a routine that works for you that you actually enjoy doing every day. If any of what I said resonates with you in any capacity, you probably want to stick around and join me as I chat about what it's like to be finally diagnosed as an adult at 32 years old here in Ireland. To everyone who's new to this channel, my name is Úna-Minh. That is my first name, and I'm a journalist, multimedia content creator, producer, editor, author, serial, shiny object multitasking, project-based, focused person. And I realize that this mic is super big in my face, but it's the only place I can put it right now. Hopefully this video might be useful or interesting or relatable to you who's going on this potential journey. Big disclaimer, obviously, I'm not a medical professional and I'm not an expert, so I can only speak about my own experiences and what I've been told, right? And I'm also looking at it through an Irish lens because, as you can guess from my accent, I'm from Ireland, specifically Kerry, which I just tell everyone because I'm obsessed with Kerry. Firstly, what is ADHD? ADHD stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. It's a chronic condition that affects millions of children and often continues into adulthood. Now, the exact cause of ADHD is unknown, but the condition has been shown to run in families. I'm adopted with no family history, so I couldn't explore that route, unfortunately. But anyway, I've split things into sections because there's a lot to get through, and I'll put timestamps in the descriptions to help organize things too. And if for any reason you notice I've changed outfit or I look different throughout the video, it's because I got bored and just came back to finish the rest of it some other time. So that is why. ADHD in women. When it comes to ADHD in women, they present it very differently to how men present it, and because of this, young girls aren't diagnosed as often. For example, in Ireland, 5% of children up to 18 have ADHD, but within the 8 to 12-year-old range, 4 to 5 times more boys are being diagnosed than girls. Now, if we imagine like a typical concept of men with ADHD, you're thinking of quite often excessive energy, maybe some aggression, bouncing off walls, high energy, and even there's a perception of laziness or not interested in schoolwork, right? So you're expecting clearly bold behaviors. And just to clarify what I mean for bold for my friends abroad, when we say bold, we mean someone who's naughty, essentially, and not the sense of being bold as in taking risks or confident, courageous, etc., right? ADHD in women is often the inattentive type, and that's what I have. So hyperactive and impulsive type symptoms are more common in boys. With girls, it's often that they internalize their challenges, so they work harder to compensate because that's what they know is important to be perceived, to be correct or not, and they mask of what's going on. And masking is one of those things that I've done most of my life and I didn't realize. I've been focusing on acting to appear what society expects me to be as a woman. And god damn, it is exhausting. Symptoms for ADHD include difficulty concentrating, completing tasks, projects, being easily distracted and forgetful, dreamy, or having organizational and memory challenges. And here's where it gets interesting. I tick all of those boxes, but you wouldn't think that because I have a lot of coping mechanisms to help me succeed or get things done. I really loved in particular Martha Bernard Ray's video on ADHD in girls and women. I'm putting a link below, because she has a line where she said, those easy things that we struggle with, they're juxtaposed with magic and a unique ability to do the hard things. For example, the inability to focus on the boring stuff is offset by periods of intense hyperfocus, which I have on many things that I'm interested in. I might struggle to start tasks sometimes, but I can also do like a week's worth of stuff in a day very, very easily. You know what? If you're still watching this, there is a chance that social media brought you here in some capacity, particularly maybe the YouTube or TikTok algorithm, because that tends to happen a lot. Now, I've been on social media for a very, very long time, circa 2005, but it's only in the past year or so that I've noticed like a big influx of ADHD content related to adults that appears in my feed constantly. Growing up, excuse me, I was the girl who couldn't learn her timetables, that excessively daydreamed and appeared not to be studying or kind of lazy on the outside. So it was especially the fact that for women, it isn't the outward hyperactivity that can be symptom, but the inattention symptoms like restless mind, body forgetfulness, trouble staying focused and finishing a project. Well, that was the stuff that stood out to me. Like I walked out of one of my exams once because I felt too bored. My CV is also a big tell because when someone asks me what I do, I can tell them, well, I'm an author, I'm a writer, journalist, video games producer, project manager, social media consultant, and multimedia content creator. And on that CV, I also have the most random qualifications and achievements in things like small boat sailing, wine, public speaking, and piano. I like to do a lot of things, and I get over a lot of things. And a big indicator too, a history of anxiety and depression. I have anxiety, depression, and PTSD. I meditate, I go to weekly therapy, and I'm on medication. So with all that in mind, and even knowing these things, something was still off for me, and I was feeling more overwhelmed and overstimulated. And I just kept feeling this brain fog and restless thoughts, had increased irritability, unfocusedness, and impulsivity, and I felt guilt and shame and really felt like a burden. I went to my doctor, who while was working with me on my depression was like, hey, did you ever think about looking into ADHD? Because a lot of girls slipped through the cracks in the Irish system. So that's when my research brought me to ADHD Now, an Irish company based in Dublin. Now, this isn't an ad, just saying, it's just the company that spoke to me the most. They're multidisciplinary team and clinicians are trusted members of, for example, the College of Psychiatrists of Ireland, the British Psychological Society, the Royal College of Psychiatrists, and the Psychological Society of Ireland. And here's the thing, much to my relief and to my anxiety's relief, everything was online. Now, some straight up facts, I'm in a position of privilege for sure because when it comes to this, because I thankfully went private and I was able to afford the fee, but they do have other payment options. They also do a screening interview to check if you're a candidate, because it would be absolutely dreadful to go through the entire system and pay for something you didn't actually have, right? Now, I won't go into fully the details of my diagnosis because they're very private and personal, but it's not like a half an hour and you're done. It's way more intense than that because you have to explore all aspects of your childhood and your adulthood. Now, personally, I do feel like the fact that I already go to therapy was a benefit because you're bringing up things that you potentially may not have dealt with or are dealing with. So you have to answer a lot of questions, and there's different grades depending on how severe things are. But everyone's different, and ADHD manifests itself in very different ways. And as I stress again, I'm not a medical practitioner myself. This is just my experience. My late diagnosis brought me both a sense of relief and, to be honest, a bit of grief. For years, I hadn't realized how much I was masking. It was a constant struggle between like mental health issues, finding a career that suits me, and simply managing me. But I finally feel like something isn't wrong with me, which is something I had questions out loud many a time. In fact, my ADHD has contributed to me being very good at what I do. So my strategies over the years, like using things like constant reminders, means I'm incredibly organized. Then because I'm interested in a lot of things, I'm a quick learner. And also due to my reminders, I am always on time. So I mentioned before my diagnosis that I didn't realize how all of my coping skills were things that helped me because I had ADHD. So for example, I am a calendar fanatic. If there is an appointment, an event, a habit, and it's not in my calendar, I will not remember to do it. And since we're here, here's an overlook of the calendars I have because, hey, maybe they might be useful for you to figure out. Firstly, we have daily routine. These are things I do on the daily, like take my tablets. Appointments, self-explanatory. Any appointments that I have set up that I must attend. Better me, these are for things that I should do to make myself feel better about myself. So, for example, skincare, posture exercises. Events, these are things that are like that I have to attend, or if something is happening with my family, like they're away on holidays or something like that, or someone's coming to stay. Family, this is a shared calendar with my husband, so I know what his schedule is, or if he's away at a gig and won't be home for dinner. Tasks, these are things that I can tick off and get that extra bit of dopamine when I complete it. For example, preparing my D&D notes. And finally, the work calendar, which is basically like anything to do with work. It usually has to do with time blocking. I'm also a fan of the Pomodoro technique, which is a time management system developed by Francesco Cirillo. Oh my god, my alert went off. But actually, that's an example of one of my alerts going off. That was telling me that I was due to do my posture exercises. Anyway, the Pomodoro technique was developed by Francesco Cirillo. And at the time, it used like a traditional timer that was in the shape of a tomato and broke things into 25-minute intervals. I use an online version now, which I'll put a link to in the description. I find it super useful, especially if you team it with brown noise. It's perfect for me. I have many other things that I use to keep me coping. So if you want to see other things and other methods that I have to run my life, leave a comment and I'll try and make a video on that. But I digress. Back to the main point. Now that I have a diagnosis, I'm so excited to relate to a community that can relate to me. So no doubt I'll explore other techniques in the future that also help with it. So that's going to be good. Diagnosis was the right path for me. I'm also glad that I have the support of my friends and family on this journey to rediscover my unique kind of mind. If you found this video interesting or useful in any capacity, I would love if you considered giving it a thumbs up. I know I just asked for it. It feels so... but I would love if you considered it, and also considered subscribing if you want to hear about the Irish language, minimalism, foraging, video games, and now I guess ADHD. And you know what? After listing those things out, it makes so much more sense now. Thank you so much. Slán go fóill.